What's going on, guys? I am on TCG Player yet again, bringing you a part 2 to cards that need holo printings. You guys really enjoyed the first part, which I definitely suggest checking out that video if you haven't seen it yet. I will have it linked in the video description. Basically, the point of this video is to look at some H.A.T format cards and cards that also have crossovers in other retro Yu-Gi-Oh formats that unfortunately only have common or rare printings, maybe some of those more unique printings as well, such as DT or, Duelist League, Starfoil, and stuff like that, but don't have a real shine to them. And honestly, a lot of these cards in this part 2 are just more cards that are definitely deserving of them, and it's almost surprising that a lot of them don't. Now, this video is going to include a lot of your guys' suggestions on cards that you think you would want to see, as well as a handful that I think personally are going to need them. But before this video gets started, if you wouldn't mind taking a second and dropping a like on this video and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, it definitely means a lot. And just like how I said before, a lot of these cards are for H.A.T format specifically, but will have crossover. So definitely let me know in the comment section what cards you guys would want to see as holos as well. I know a lot of people who saw the first video definitely commented those, but if this is your first time seeing this video, or if you saw part 2 before part 1, definitely let me know those in the comment section. But without further ado, let's get started. So starting off is going to be a card that a lot of people commented on the first part, why didn't I include it? And that is going to be Kaiser Coliseum. Now, this is actually a little surprising to me that I didn't realize it only had 2 printings. I definitely thought it had a couple printings. I knew they were all going to be common, but I didn't actually realize it was just 2 printings as a whole, the original common and then the DR1 printing, which personally I'm a big fan of the Dark Revelation sets. So, having at least a cooler common in my personal opinion is nice, but this is a card that's very iconic to H.A.T format. People definitely remember Bujin back in the day playing Kaiser Coliseum. While it doesn't see as much play in modern H.A.T format, it definitely is one of those iconic cards and definitely well deserving of a holo printing. I think even until like the past handful of years, this had only recently got banned in the OCG. They definitely had it a lot longer than us, and so there is maybe a reasoning that they didn't give this card a holo printing based on the fact it was banned for so long. But at the same time, with rarity collections, reprinting a lot of banned cards, many cards that probably could, stay on the ban list longer than Kaiser Coliseum as a whole would, it's definitely kind of interesting that they chose not to reprint this. Next up, another card, Diamond Core of Koikimiru, Iron Core of Koikimiru decks, or Koikimiru decks in general, are some of the fan favorites in current H.A.T format. Personally, I think it's such a fun deck to play, so it definitely would make sense that the, best searcher card for the deck in Diamond Core would have a holo printing, but this card doesn't even have a single reprint, only its original printing in Primal Origin. I can't even think of how many years ago at this point it is, like, I'm pretty sure over 10 at this point. So that's just something crazy to think about, and I think this card would look really nice as anything from a super to an ultra, given how high rarity some of the Koikimiru cards are, and not to mention like the Iron Core itself does have like an ultra printing, so having like an ultra to match that would be pretty cool. Next up after that, Trance Archfiend. This is a card that isn't the most common in H.A.T format, but it is used specifically in Dark World, which is always a fan favorite type deck, and this is another one of those cards that only has 2 printings, the original, and then I didn't even know it had a structure deck reprint, and even the fact that besides that it doesn't have another is something definitely different and a really cool card. I think this would look nice with a holo printing, or even a rare for that matter, though again this is all about holos, just a honorable mention in a sense there. After that, we have another just massively popular card in hat format being Goblinberg. The fact that we just actually got a, retrain of the Goblinderberg here, or Goblinberg, however you want to say it, I'll always pronounce it wrong, and people will complain about that. But the fact that we haven't got like a super printing of the OG version is really wild to me, and there is so many printings of this. I think it's only really common outside of like the Starfoil and the Star Pack one. So I guess realistically, yeah, 2 Starfoils. And I remember there was a time in the game's history where this was seeing play. I want to say it was around Minerva Sworn or something like that, where the Starfoils for this were actually like upwards of like $5 to $10. And the fact that they didn't even reprint it at that point is something, wild to me. Maybe like an OTS Super, or I guess at that time probably would have been Astral Pack Super, which definitely feels more so like a card that would have been in an Astral Pack, given how random some of the cards in those definitely were. But this is a card, just look at all these printings, probably in the top, one of the top cards to have this many printings and not a holo or even a rare is really, really crazy to me. And it would definitely be deserving of, again, at bare minimum, a super or something like that. Next up, another card that just everyone kind of said, why didn't I include, is going to be Light Ray Diabolos. And I agree with that. This card definitely would look good in holo. I know I had seen a post from someone on Facebook who actually does watch the channel and stuff like that, and they had posted some OCG cards, and OCG had this as an ultra rare, and they looked so nice. So, and again, Lightsworn Ruler being the deck that plays this, and that deck being so high rarity, this card would definitely look nice in it. Now, the next card I want to talk about is a personal fan favorite one, and I know a lot of people also enjoy it. While we don't have Neberdisk in hat format, the Chronomly cards, all of which, Crystal Skull, Crystal Bones, Golden Jet, and Moai, all of which have only one printing. No reprints on any of these, and at highest are going to be Crystal Bones and Crystal Skull at rare. These cards definitely need a holo printing. Like, I feel like this could have been a card that would have been maybe reprinted in some sort of set around the time of World Superstars, which is actually when Neberdisk got released into the format, which unfortunately came way too late and wasn't playable in the TCG's version of hat format. In the OCG, having Neberdisk obviously made such a impact, but this is definitely an archetype that needs a good amount of holos. And speaking of which, another fan favorite archetype, and archetype that you will find in hat format more so than Chronomly, because I'd say Chronomly is more of, 1 in every 100 games you might see one of these pop up. A deck that's a little more popular, Battling Boxer. This is a archetype. A lot of people brought up Lead Yoke as a card that should have a holo printing, and the thing with that is the advent calendars, I think they were mostly came German, if I'm not mistaken, had super rare Lead Yokes. So I didn't want to include Lead Yoke necessarily, though in terms of having an English holo printing, I think that would be nice. But the Battling Boxers, Glassjaw and Switch Hitter and Spar all actually are only commons. I know in the Soul Burning Volcano set they got reprinted, but if I'm not mistaken, they were all commons. They didn't even give them rares or anything. And for example, Spar, there was a time when we got the Battling Boxer support released before the Soul Burning set actually came out, when we got like some of the new support and stuff. The Spars had actually shot up to like, I think $5 if I'm not mistaken, because I remember moving a couple sets of them. So the fact that even this card doesn't have a holo printing, and they got a whole set with Battling Boxer support in the last like 3 years or so, maybe it was I think it was around 3 years, give or take. I think that's definitely something I don't know how I feel about that. Like, it should have, like, not even giving it a rare or anything like that, when that set did, I'm pretty sure, have rares and stuff for the most part. It would have been nice, but unfortunately just no Battling Boxer holos at the moment. Moving right along, probably a little biased on this one, but Solar Windjammer, which is a kind of interesting card in hat format, because it's mostly just played in the Karakuri OTK deck, or just Karakuri in general, but it also technically being like a Cyber Dragon type effect, which is a level 5 light as well, can actually work with the artifact cards, and I think this would be a pretty cool holo. It does have a Mosaic rare, which is at least something, but definitely nothing like an actual holo. And a similar type card is going to be Psychic Commander. I say similar for the sake that you usually are going to find this in a Karakuri deck, but at the same time, most Psychic decks in hat format that are playing things like the emergency teleports are playing Psychic Commander simply because it is a level 3 Earth tuner, which means it's just easy access to cards like Naturia Beast and Naturia Barkion, as well as this has crossover in a lot of other formats, and having a rare print is nice, but obviously a holo would be better. Again, even something as low as a super rare would be highly appreciated, and a card like Psychic Commander, you can see even just to have that little bit of shine on it in the rare category is actually worth like $5 versus like the dollar for a common, and it definitely, like, Turbo Pack 4 being the most recent printing is definitely far out. So even a modern reprint, even if it were to be a common, would be appreciated, but, you know, Konami add a little bit of shine to it. Now, next up is going to be another card that from time to time pops up in Lightsworn Ruler, and that is going to be Revival Golem. And this actually has a somewhat more recent printing, being in the Speed Duel GX Midterm Destruction set, but at the same time, you know, it would be nice to get this with some shine. It's a pretty cool looking card too, so I could see this like being like an ultra or something would look nice, but it really is just one of those more niche cards. Another card that is kind of iconic around the hat format era is going to be Compulsory Escape Device. I know a lot of people really enjoy Chain Beat, and this is one of the cards that kind of made that deck a little bit known, being able to activate this and then tag out your guys and basically just shuffle back an opponent's card is really neat and cool, and this actually only has one printing. Another card that has crossover in other formats and is a trap with only one printing is going to be Chain Material. Now, for some people, you might be a little confused why this card is on a hat format list in a sense for these, but this actually is played in the Blaze Phoenix Geargia deck that kind of allows you to FTK or OTK for that matter, and I think that this card, I think for first eds are actually worth like several dollars. I don't want to turn this into like a market watch video, but I will kind of see here's like a light play for like almost $1.50, but I'm pretty sure the near mints were actually worth a little bit more. Yeah, like moving into $2, and we still haven't seen any near mints. Moving on up, yeah, almost $3. Yeah, $3 just about, and that is for a common. So this kind of reminds me of the last video where I talked about Desfrog and said it feels kind of bad picking up commons for several dollars when you would hope that, you know, if you're going to pick something up like that, it at least has some shine to it. Next up, a card that I know Edison players would love to see in holo is going to be Supervise, and this one, you know, more recent, you know, Toon Chaos is actually a bit old at this point, which is weird to say, but has a rare printing, which is at least an upgrade from its previously all commons. But this is a card definitely deserving of a holo. Like, even when they reprinted Gigaplant in, I want to say it was like Dual Devastator, Dual Overlord, one of the, or Overload, my apologies, one of those sets got an ultra rare, and so it's kind of surprising that they didn't just like add this as well, since they fit neck and neck with each other, but they didn't choose to do that, and honestly, this would look so good in a holo. Again, a super and ultra something. Next up, Brotherhood of the Firefist Leopard, and this one I think shocks me the most out of a lot of the cards I've shown off so far. Reason being is Fire Fist got support a while back. They got like a bunch of new cards, and in that set, I think it was Fists of the Gadget, if I'm not mistaken, they did get reprints of things like Bear, Gorilla, Tenki, Spirit even, and they didn't reprint the other card that goes in the 3.5 axis Fire Fist deck. Like, you reprinted Spirit of all cards and didn't think Leopard should get a reprint with it as a super, and there was a bunch of other Fire Fist cards obviously, and this again just being one of those cards that only has a common and its original reprint is very unfortunate. Next up we have Yaksha. This card I feel isn't the most common in H.A.T format. It does have its Starfoil, and again this is really just played in the was it the Spirit control deck of anything. Sometimes you'll see it also in the Herald deck, but both of those again just aren't the most common decks, but this would definitely be nice. And similarly, cards like Izanami I believe only have one printing as well. This is more so for the Herald deck than the actual Spirit control deck, but it definitely would be nice to get this. There's also one other Spirit monster, I think it's Yamato no Kami if I'm not mistaken, also doesn't have a holo printing. I can actually look that up real quick. Yamato, oops, little bit of craziness here. Yamato no Kami. Let's see if we can find it and see Yamato no Kami. Here we go. And yeah, this also only has one printing, and this card has actually seen a good amount of splashability in some of the Chaos versions of the Spirit deck, which we have seen a little bit more than some of the other versions. And as a level 6, it works well with the Chaos stuff for a lot of different reasons. I'm not really going to get into it, but this would also be a great reprint as a whole. And another deck that people have really been looking at and trying to figure out some good options to play it is going to be Scrap Factory. This is probably like realistically one of the best scrap cards besides maybe like Scrap Storm, and Orthros is pretty solid, and I guess Chimera for that reason, but for the most part Scrap Factory kind of makes all those cards good, like even better, giving them more advantage. And this is just another card that Orthros was reprinted in that same set with the Gigaplant, and this just could have been another one of those cards that slot in so nicely. And we have got more recent support and more reprints for scrap cards, like Scrap Golem was an OTS card, and what else? We got the Scrap, the one they played in Dino, I can't exactly remember it right now, but that was another card that got a reprint and just in general was printed since this. So this definitely feels like it should have got a holo printing. Now this one, I don't know how we haven't got a printing of this. Like, Hieratic Ruler was a very prominent deck. Hieratic, even before H.A.T format, was a prominent deck. I want to say when it came out sometime around like 2012, 2013, give or take, in Galactic Overlord. And a lot of the Hieratic stuff got reprinted in, I want to say, Ghosts from the Past. We got things like Tefnuit, Convocation, and several other cards, and Sue just missed out. And this is a card that I know a lot of people have been wanting for a very long time, and hopefully sooner than later Konami will answer our prayers and actually give us this. Next up, last time I talked about frogs and I didn't really talk about this card, but this is definitely another single print card that would look good with some holo. Like, I don't even know what they could give this that would make it look good, but I'm sure just anything realistically would. Sea Lancer, a card that was played in all different sorts of frog strategies throughout time, only has one printing, and it is a card that I think is well deserving of it. Not really the most common in H.A.T format. Usually you'll see it as a one of in the frog deck, but overall just a nice card. Now the last card I want to talk about for this video is kind of fitting, and that is going to be Hope for Escape. I know people don't like Exodia decks and stall decks and stuff like that, but Hope for Escape is an iconic card. I believe, I forget what year it was Exodia went to Worlds, and Hope for Escape is one of those cards to get extra draws, and I'm sure a lot of people who play in older formats would appreciate it, even if they're not the fan of the deck the most. But overall, this is all of the cards that I have for today's video. I know there's more. there's a ton more I'm sure that you guys can think of, so definitely let me know in the comment section what rarities and cards you would like to see. Maybe if I get enough other cards together, we can make a part 3. And speaking of which, again, if you haven't checked out part 1, I highly suggest checking that out. I will have it linked in the video description. But anyways, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like on it, comment any questions or videos you want to see in the future, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to get notified anytime I put a new video out, share this video with your friends, and anyways, guys, I will see you in the next video.